everybody. Welcome to Sandy's house, where ingredients and taste meet. And B and I are back with another recipe. And I am super excited because my niece is with us today, Dr. Bridget Jackson. We are so excited to have you in the kitchen, and I'm going to give her a moment to introduce herself to you, talk about what she's doing, where she wants to go with it. She is absolutely amazing, and I can't wait for you to hear from her.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here, both of you. I'm super excited to be here as well. As Auntie Sandy said, my name is Dr. Bridget Jackson. I'm a doctor of psychology. And, well, first and foremost, I'm a child of God.
Yes.
That's who I am.
Yes.
And He's blessed me with the ability to practice psychology. And right now, I am working as a community program director for a conditional release program. So basically, we provide supervision and treatment to individuals who have a criminal history that stemmed from an issue related to their mental health. And it's our job to provide the supervision and treatment as they reintegrate back into society.
Wow.
So heavy work.
Heavy work.
Heavy work.
Much needed work.
Definitely.
Important work.
Definitely. But my prayer and my hope is that one of these days I'll be able to open up my own practice.
Wow.
Because as I said, I'm a child of God, and I really want to integrate faith and biblical principles into the mental health treatment that I'm providing. And there's not really enough room to do that in a forensic setting, right? Where we're focused more on, do you know why you committed your crime? How are we going to prevent that from happening? And so I really love the opportunity to create a space where I can merge both of those worlds together.
Wow, that's amazing. Wonderful. That is amazing. Yeah. So many people will benefit from that. But on the heels of mental health and talking about mental health, we're hearing a lot about that these days, and it's important. It's an important topic to open up, and discuss. And it's important not just for the people who are experiencing mental health difficulties or mental health illness, but it's also just as important or equally important for the people who are walking alongside a family member or a friend who is experiencing some mental health difficulties. And really, that's the group I want to focus on today. That's the group I want them to know that you are seen. We understand that can be an arduous task and a very taxing journey on somebody. So it's really important for those of you out there who are listening to this and you have a family member who is suffering with mental illness, or a friend, and you are caring for them or walking alongside them or trying to support them, and it's not always easy. Sometimes it can be very hurtful.
Absolutely.
Things can happen. You need to know that it's important for you to take care of yourself. It's important for you to maintain your peace and your own mental wellness. So, Dr. BJ, can you give this group some tips, some advice on some things that they can do to ensure that they stay healthy?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think for one, it's important to just acknowledge, as you said, that it's not an easy task. I think for a lot of people, especially in our community, they try and do things on their own and have this persona that everything is okay. I got it. I can do it by myself. I'm supposed to be strong. And this is my family, so I can take care of them. And so just acknowledging, right, that this is heavy. It's not an easy task. As you said, it can be hurtful. It can be scary. And once we acknowledge that something is challenging, that opens up the space for us to get help ourselves, for the person providing the care to get the help that they need to stay strengthened throughout that process.
And on the heels of that, that's so important because in the African American community in particular, when we were growing up, things would happen at home and your family would be like, what happens in this house stays in this house.
Absolutely.
And as a result, we grew up with that mindset, and we don't always feel safe to share
Yeah.
with other people what's going on behind the scenes either.
Absolutely. And that is a pattern that needs to be broken, right? Because if we don't acknowledge that we need help, or we don't acknowledge what's going on, then that cycle can continue, right? And another thing that I would say is that help, I think, comes on two sides. There's the support of other people, your community, right? Because God created us to be in relationship, right? And so if I need some support, I want to be able to call on the other folks in my community, but I also need to be spiritually grounded, right? God says for us to cast our cares on him because he cares for us. And so if we're trying to hold it ourselves, it's almost like we're trying to do the Holy Spirit's job, and my dad always says there's no Holy Spirit Junior. So we've got to let those things go, right? And so staying in prayer, using scripture as a way to anchor yourself, anchor your day, and to keep you full, right? Because as I said, there's a merging. And one of the things that I've learned in studying psychology is that the root of the word psychology is psyche, and psyche means soul. Who created our soul? God, right? And so the way that we take care of our souls is by giving everything back to God. And so I would definitely recommend, even if we don't share the same, if the folks listening don't share the same spiritual background, whatever it is, meditation, taking a walk, making sure that you get the rest that you need, and not feeling like, that's another thing this might be a global thing, but I'll speak for our community, that we tend to think that rest is something we have to earn.
Wow.
Right? Like, I can't take a nap, or I can't sit down until I do X, Y, and Z.
Right. So everything
has to be done, and done completely. Right? I've started this thing in my house, as I have a 3-year-old, and she's pretty much the boss of everything.
And
everybody, especially Pop. But I've started this thing where once I kind of get her settled, I'll work in like 15-minute increments. So it's like, I'm gonna clean whatever part of the house for 15 minutes, and after that I'm gonna sit down.
Okay.
And you'd be surprised how much you can get done in those 15 minutes of dedicated focus, but also the rest makes it so that you're not exhausted.
That's pretty good.
Makes sense.
So
makes sense.
Making sure that you are doing those things that keep yourself fueled and grounded, because as we're talking about this particular population, working and caring for someone that you love, you want to do that graciously, right? And we can't do anything graciously without God and without ourselves being grounded as well.
Right. That's so important, because you can't pour from an empty cup, right? You have to fill yourself up so that you can continue to give, especially if like you're an adult, child or adult children, and you're caring for, a parent or a sibling or another family member. And I have firsthand experience with this. I have no problem in saying that. And it's hard, because if you're the only person, you have to have a strategy. You have to either take those 15 minutes of rest, or surround yourself with a support system who's pouring back into you, so that you can continue pouring out, especially if you're the only person available to do it. It is crucial that you find some strategies and some ways to manage your own wellness, so that you can continue to pour into other people.
Yeah, definitely. Those self-check-ins are really important. I know when I don't get enough sleep, I'm cranky, right? And so just checking in, like, what's my mood feeling like today? What type of care do I need? Is it rest? Is it a fun activity? Do I need to be in community with my people? Because, you know, we can charge each other up, right? And so doing those daily check-ins, and sometimes multiple times throughout the day, because things can move up and down and be unpredictable, right? And that's how we stay attuned to what it is that we need. And then not being afraid, again, to ask for help. Right? If you have a community, if you're blessed to have a community, because there are people who literally are doing things on their own. But if you have folks that you can call on, family, friends, church members, people from school, don't be afraid to ask, hey, can you come by for 30 minutes and, you know, help me with this situation? Or I haven't eaten. Would you mind sending me some food? Right? Or whatever. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. A lot of people feel like vulnerability is a weakness. And that's really a superpower. Right? In our weakness, God's strength is perfected. And we have to be okay with that. Acknowledging I can't do this by myself. Right?
And because a lot of people are suffering in silence. Because they are trying to do it by themselves. And if you are someone watching someone in this position, you mentioned fun, call them and say, hey, put that down. We're going to go have some fun. Because if you are working a job, caring for a family member or a friend, and if you have your own family, it's just work on top of work, on top of work, on top of work, and there's no room for fun, and you need an outlet, right? And sometimes you won't take that outlet on your own. It has to be someone who is walking alongside you while you walk alongside your loved one who sees you. That's why we're talking about this, because we want you to know that we see you. And if you see somebody in this position and they are, we can tell when somebody's struggling and when somebody's having a hard time, call them and say, hey, I'm going to come pick you up and we're going to go out for a meal together. And don't let them tell you no, because if they're like me, you always feel like you have so much to do, you can't take a few minutes away, you know, to snatch some time to go have a meal, go to the fair is in town, go to the amusement park, do something. So I hope that just, you know, this is just scratching the surface. We could talk about this topic for hours and hours and days because there's so many layers to it. But it was really important to me to start the conversation. And hopefully you will start having these conversations with your family members, your friends, if you are seeing a therapist, whatever it is, whatever space you are in, you need to know that we know that there are people out there who are being really good friends and being excellent, extraordinary family members because they are walking on this journey with someone who really needs them. So thank you so much for coming and opening this up, and I hope that this helps someone out there. But remember Dr. BJ, because she's going to be opening her own practice, and you want to look her up because she is a child of God for real, and she's going to take really good care of you.
Amen.
Thank you. That note, absolutely. On that note, we are going to start cooking. So today we are making meatballs. So I'm using my recipe for meatballs and a ragu, but I am using the technique of Antoinette from Aidells Italian's kitchen. She doesn't bake her meatballs. She doesn't fry them. She rolls them and drops them directly into the hot boiling sauce. I did this a couple of months ago.
How's that gonna cook?
They cook in the sauce. I did it a couple of months ago. They were the best meatballs I have ever had. Y'all, I got to make a believer out of Angel. Again. But they are going to be moist, and that sauce is going to penetrate through these meatballs, and they're going to be absolutely amazing. Now, the caveat is this. If you decide to make this recipe, it's best to let the meatballs and the sauce cook on a very, very low heat for about an hour to 2 hours, because it gives them. Well, hopefully you will have had a snack or something before.
Okay.
Not doing a 1 meal a day type of a diet.
Yeah, that's not this kind of a meal.
Oh.
So eat breakfast. If you decide to try this recipe, which I know you're not going to do it on your own, but I'm going to say this anyway. You decide to make this recipe, you eat breakfast and you eat lunch, and this will be dinner, because it will have plenty of time to simmer. You want to give it plenty of time. And the reason is because you want to develop all of those bold flavors. And just like chili, the longer you cook it, the better it is. So we are going to...
We gotta wait an hour now before once you cook it.
So that's why I said the caveat is normally we would, but today we are only going to cook them for about 30 minutes. That'll give the meatballs time to get done.
Oh.
And I'm hoping that enough of that sauce has time to do the magic that it does, because if I told you it was going to take an hour, I think you'd pass out right now.
I sure would. I'm hungry.
So with that said, let's get started. Okay, here we are at the stove. And B's gonna get started on our ragu. Once I get her going, then BJ and I are gonna move over and start working on our meatballs. So what we have in our pot here is about a half a cup of olive oil and 17 cloves of garlic. I wanted to infuse the oil with that garlic, so on a very, very low heat, I let the garlic kind of brown up a little bit. Garlic is a funny thing. When it burns, it gets bitter. So you don't want it on a high heat. You want to cook it on a low heat, a really low simmer. And once it starts to brown, turn it off. And then what she's going to do is she's going to open 2 cans of San Marzano style whole peeled tomatoes. You want to use the whole peeled tomatoes, because if it has the hull or the peeling on it, it doesn't break down like you need it to in the food processor. So you get these little pieces of shell, if you will, and that's not good. So make sure you get them peeled. She's going to open these and she's going to put them in the food processor.
Okay.
Okay. And then she's going to remove the garlic, not the oil, but the garlic, and add them to the tomatoes in the food processor. Blend that up really, really well so that it's nicely incorporated. And then she's going to take the puree and pour it back into the pot with the oil. She's going to add a cup of chicken broth and basil. There's about a tablespoon of basil. Add that to the pot, and then she's just going to let it simmer on a low heat. She's just going to let that simmer. Before we add the meatballs, we want this to be boiling, right? So it's kind of like a medium heat, and you watch it so that it's doing what it do.
I can do that.
Okay, we want it to do what it do.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay. Now, once it's simmered a little bit and some of the flavors and the juices start to extract and kind of gel, then you can taste it, right? If it needs a little seasoning, anybody who knows me knows that I try not to use salt as much as possible. I do use it sometimes, and a little bit, but I really try to use natural seasonings, and you'll see that a little bit more when we move to making our meatballs. But instead of using salt, add just about a half a teaspoon. I'll give you a half a teaspoon of beef bouillon
if you need it,
okay. Right? Hopefully the sugars and the seasoning that's already in the tomatoes will season it enough, because we want that real Italian.
We got it, ma'am.
We don't want to mask it with a bunch of seasoning.
We got that, ma'am.
You got it?
Got it, ma'am.
So that means you're ready for me to
I'm ready for you to move on out of the way.
Got it.
Thank you.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Okay, good.
She knows what she's doing. And we're gonna add about a tablespoon of olive oil. any kind of olive oil will do. This is a Premier extra virgin olive oil, but any brand is fine. And once this heats up a little bit, BJ's gonna add her onions. We have 1 large onion diced, and we have a 1/2 cup of red bell pepper, a 1/2 cup of green bell pepper. Now the bell pepper is totally optional.
Okay.
I like it because it just adds more flavor. And like I said, I don't like to add a lot of salt. I like to use ingredients that kind of naturally flavor a dish. I love bell peppers because I just think they just amazing.
They sing.
Yes, they sing, right? You understand. So she's gonna add that to her pot.
Okay. Are we ready for it now?
Yeah, we're ready for it.
Okay. All?
Okay, add them all. Because once they cook, we're gonna let them cook until they get nice and soft. And they're gonna cook down a little bit. I'll take that.
Thank you.
And then you can go ahead and add your
Bell
bell
peppers.
pepper as well.
I'm so excited.
Yay! Okay, so now what she's gonna do, she's gonna mix that up and get the olive oil all incorporated on all of her veggies there. Awesome. Okay, so we're just gonna sweat those out. We're just gonna let those hang out and start to simmer up a little bit. So while we're waiting on that, I can take that for you.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm gonna have you open your meat. We've got oh here, you can use that a little. Yeah. We've got a pound of Italian sausage, mild, and we've got a pound of turkey ground. Now, the type of meat you use is totally optional. If you want to use beef, you can. If you want to use pork, if you want to use veal. What I always do is I mix my meat. I always use 2 different kinds of meat because I noticed that it just makes my meatballs or my meatloaf. This is the same recipe. You can use this recipe to make a meatloaf as well.
Okay, we've got both of the...
Okay, so what you can start doing, so we're going to add 2 eggs. So she's got both of her meat in there. So she can go ahead and start adding her other ingredients while we're waiting on the vegetables to saute.
Okay.
And I'll watch this for you. So you can add your eggs.
Okay.
What we have is a tablespoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of paprika, and you can use a tablespoon of these ingredients because they don't have a salt factor, right? And we have a teaspoon of Old Bay, a teaspoon of black pepper, and a teaspoon of the beef bouillon powder. That's gonna flavor our meatballs. And then we have a tablespoon of chopped parsley. Okay, and that's it.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. It smells good in here.
Yes, it
I
does.
agree with you on that.
How's your sauce coming, AB? You got everything in the pot?
It's good. Everything's in there and it's cooking good.
Awesome.
Gonna
So,
be some good sauce too.
It looks like it.
Yeah, because I made it.
Because you made, of course.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be
You're
any
the
other
special
way.
ingredient.
Of
I'm
course.
telling you.
So what you're gonna do now is you're gonna add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Whenever I'm cooking vegetables, apple cider vinegar is a natural seasoning agent to me. And so you're gonna add that in your veggies. You don't need a lot, yeah, right? And then we've got 2 tablespoons of, I call it W sauce because I cannot say
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire. She's gonna add that. That's gonna add more flavor.
Beautiful.
And what we're gonna do is turn off the heat because now we want these veggies to start cooling down. We don't want to add them to our meat mixture while it's hot because it will start to cook the meat and cook the eggs in here. So we want to give it a few minutes to kind of cool down a little bit before we mix it all up. And that's all the ingredients. We've got 2 eggs in here. We've got a tablespoon of parsley. We've got a tablespoon of paprika, a tablespoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of Old Bay, a teaspoon of black pepper, and a teaspoon of beef bouillon, the powder. And then we're gonna add our red and green bell peppers and our onions. And then BJ's gonna get in here with her hands. Oh, I almost forgot. We've got a tablespoon, half a cup of panko. A lot of people use regular breadcrumbs. I like using panko. It just, again, makes it taste better, right? So we're gonna add a half a cup of panko to our mixture. Now, something that Antoinette of Antoinette's Italian Kitchen does, in her meatball sauce, she adds the meatballs, but she also adds sausage. So I've cut up, this is Aidells Italian sausage. I love that brand. They have the apple,
the chicken apple.
The chicken apple. Yeah. They've got the Cajun and Dewey. Yeah, so I love it. So I just cut these in half at a slant. Once we add the meatballs, then we're gonna add our sausages in there. So we've got meatballs and sausages. I made some garlic potatoes that we can eat this over, and some green beans. Once it starts boiling, once you see it starts to rolling boil, then you can turn it down.
I've been stirring it, so I don't know if it's been rolling, boiling or not. It's boiling.
Well, it's starting to boil. So if you just
not touching them.
Not touch it.
Okay.
You'll come to a.
Is that what you mean? Not touching them.
I was trying to be nice and, and considerate and politically correct.
Well, you know, you have to be plain with things, you know. Just tell it like it is.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna do a little cleaning here. BJ, you can go ahead and add the breadcrumbs. Okay, so we can kind of stir that around a little bit, BJ. Let's see if it...
Stir the veggies?
Stir the veggies around a little bit. Yeah. It's still going to be kind of warm, which is okay. Because you're going to get right in there and get it all... incorporated. And the meat is cold, so it's going to help keep everything cool.
Yes. So why don't she mix all that up now? And then when she get it mixed up, put the veggies in.
So, like in baking, what makes your product tough is when you overwork it. So if she were to mix everything up now and then mix it again after she adds her veggies, there is an increasing chance that she's going to overwork her meat. And you don't want to do that because you don't want your meatballs to be tough. You want them to be nice and moist and luscious.
Well, thank you for telling me.
No problem.
That's a great question.
Very good. Okay, we can go ahead and add them.
Okay. Let's scoot it over this way. Don't make a mess. And I'm adding everything.
You're adding everything.
Okay.
They look delicious.
I never knew about adding apple cider vinegar as the flavoring agent. I'm gonna have to start doing that.
I put it in. Whenever I'm cooking vegetables, I put it in everything.
Love that.
Okay, I'll take this.
Got it.
Got it. Okay, got it. And you give me this, and you get in there with your hands and get it all incorporated. Okay, so we are ready to form our meatballs. I did add another half cup of panko just to make sure that they stay together. So what BJ's gonna do is she's gonna take a cookie scooper. Now you don't need a cookie scooper to do this. You can just grab some, but I kind of like all of my meatballs to be the same size. And to ensure that, so she's gonna take this cookie scooper and then I'm gonna scoop this out into her hands. And she's gonna form it into a meatball, a little round meatball, and then she's gonna put it on her tray because we want to put all of the meatballs in the sauce at the same time because we want them to cook at the same time. So we're gonna do this. So what she's gonna do now, so most people would fry these or bake these first just to make sure that they stay together, but that creates a barrier around your meatballs, and it prevents the sauce from kind of infusing them and getting all in there. So what BJ's gonna do is she's gonna take one meatball and just drop it. She's gonna take all the meatballs one at a time and just drop it in the sauce.
Gently.
Just drop it in. And then once you get them in the sauce, you're going to leave them alone. If you start stirring and moving them around, there's a huge chance that they will fall apart, and we want them to stay together. And then once we get all the meatballs in, she will drop in our sausages. Again, if you have time, you're cooking this for dinner or something, you want to let it simmer for about an hour, hour and a half, just to make sure that, you know, all of that sauce gets in there and they're really nice and moist and
They're not gonna fit in
just so good.
Maybe.
But today, we're gonna let them cook for about 30 minutes until we ensure that the meatballs are fully cooked all the way through.
Will they all fit in at the same time?
Will they all fit?
Mm-mm.
No?
What about,
Okay.
what about right over here?
But it's okay because we could
Oh, you got
freeze
to put the
these.
sausages
Yeah.
in.
Okay.
So we want to put just as many of those as you can fit in there. Listen, this is our end result. The meatballs look amazing.
And they
And
smell.
have you ever had meatballs and sausage?
Mm-mm. I haven't
is the
either, but I'm
first.
gonna have it today.
You will not be disappointed, I guarantee you.
Okay.
Listen, everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much to Dr. Bridget Jackson and her insight on how to keep yourself peaceful, healthy, and well, mentally, physically, and spiritually. I want to leave you with this blessing. May the Lord bless and protect you. May the Lord smile upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you his favor and give you his peace. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. We were on a roll.
You still on a roll. Because you said an hour and a half.
You said,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.